In this video, we will be looking at the highly competitive German football with our top 15 German teams for career mode. At number 15, we start with Bochum, who narrowly escaped relegation. Last year, they finished 16th and had to secure their place in the Bundesliga through the German playoffs. In the final, they lost the first match at home 3-0 to Fortuna Düsseldorf, making relegation seem almost certain. However, in the return leg away at Düsseldorf, they turned it around completely and also won 3-0. The match ended in penalties, and Bochum took them better, securing another year in the Bundesliga. This relatively small German club with a historic stadium has been oscillating for years between the top of the second tier and the lower regions of the Bundesliga. Your first objective will be to stay in the Bundesliga for your first 2 seasons. Invest wisely with a recognizable playing style to grow into a stable mid-table team within 5 years. After that, the next goal is to give the loyal fans of this beautiful club, founded in 1938, a European adventure for the first time since 1998. At number 14, we have a completely different situation with Bayer Leverkusen. Their story from last season is probably well known to everyone. They went undefeated to become the champions of Germany, their first top-tier title in history. They also won the German Cup without losing a single match. Often, they managed to avoid defeat in the last minutes of the game by miraculously equalizing. This trend continued in the Europa League until they faced Atalanta Bergamo in the final, where they lost convincingly. So far, the exodus of key players has been limited, and coach Xabi Alonso is still at the helm, making Leverkusen the big favorite for the title this new season. Although another undefeated season should statistically be impossible. In the short term, your goal is, of course, to defend both the Bundesliga title and the German Cup. Additionally, maintaining success over multiple seasons is challenging, and refreshing your squad plays a crucial role in this. For Leverkusen, there is only one prize that can surpass last season, and that is a European trophy. Preferably the Champions League, but probably no one in Leverkusen will be disappointed if they win the Europa League instead. At number 13, we have a team that has been active at the highest level of German football for 28 years and won the Bundesliga once in 2009, Wolfsburg. Since their incredible 2009 season, featuring a young Dzeko and his striking partner Grafit, the club, sponsored by Volkswagen, has experienced 15 years of ups and downs. They often finished mid-table, with occasional peaks into the top 4. However, they also faced lows, narrowly avoiding relegation with finishes as low as 16th. In 2021, the club last qualified for European football, but since then, they haven't finished higher than 8th place. Your first objective with Die Wölfe is to climb out of the German mid-table by making smart transfers and developing a strong youth academy. Ensure that within 3 years, you are competing for European football, and use the revenue to build a better squad. The ultimate goal is to win the Bundesliga again within 5 seasons. There is a whole generation of Wolfsburg fans who only have the beautiful stories of 2009 to rely on. Give these young fans their own dream and story to tell about their beloved club. At number 12, we have a club whose recent results feel similar to Wolfsburg, Werder Bremen. This club has a rich history, including 4 Bundesliga titles, 6 German Cups, and 1 European Cup Winners' Cup. The club's heyday was in the 80s and 90s under the successful coach Otto Rehhagel, where they achieved their greatest successes. 20 years ago, in 2004, they won their last Bundesliga title, and since then, it has been a struggle. Since 2010, the club hasn't finished higher than 8th in the Bundesliga, and in 2021, this beautiful club was even relegated to the second tier of German football. Fortunately, this was a short stint, and they returned to the top level after just 1 season. Since then, they have been a solid mid-table team for the past 2 seasons. The club has also produced or hosted notable players in the past, such as Rudi Völler, Miroslav Klose, and more recently, Mesut Ozil. Bring back a playing style reminiscent of Otto Rehhagel's era with physical, direct football and good use of the wings. Your first objective is to bring Werder Bremen back to the top 4 of the Bundesliga. This will be challenging in the highly competitive league with several big clubs fighting for these spots. Additionally, bring another great player to the top through the youth academy or by buying a young player and developing them, as was once done with Ozil. But the ultimate goal is, of course, to bring new Bundesliga successes to the fans from Bremen and to celebrate the title for the first time in over 20 years. At number 11, we have a true football fairy tale with FC Heidenheim. The club was promoted to the top tier for the first time in its history in 2023 and managed to hold its own in the Bundesliga last season, finishing in a respectable 8th place. Heidenheim's promotion to the Bundesliga is a classic example of a football fairy tale. It's a small club that has climbed the German football pyramid step by step, thanks to good management, player loyalty, and a strong community behind the club. They never never forced themselves into financial adventures, but have steadily worked their way up. In 2009, they became champions of the 4th tier in Germany, then steadily worked their way up in the 3rd tier, and after 5 seasons, they became champions in 2014 and were promoted to the 2nd Bundesliga. They played 8 seasons there, usually finishing in the upper half, until they became champions in 2023 and continued their journey in the Bundesliga. Your ultimate goal is to continue this club's journey from the heart of Germany to the top, but stick to their current policy. More than 80% of their players are of German nationality, and they never spend money recklessly. Stay close to home and make smart signings. Achieve European football within 3 years and aim to win the Bundesliga title within 10 seasons. Now we approach our top 10, starting with FC Nürnberg in 10th place. This former German giant boasts no less than 9 Bundesliga titles, although all of them date back to before 1970. Over the past 20 years, the club has oscillated between the Bundesliga and the 2nd tier of German football, spending most of the last decade stuck in the 2nd division. In the 2019 season, Der Club played in the top tier for 1 year, but was unfortunately relegated immediately. Since then, the club has had to settle for mediocre results in the 2nd division, finishing 10th last year. From this season, the aforementioned Miroslav Klose takes the helm as coach, perhaps the start of something new for this historically significant club in Germany. The objectives are simple when starting a career with Nürnberg. In the short term, you need to achieve promotion to the Bundesliga. Once there, the first task is to ensure you can stay for several consecutive years. Then, in the long term, aim to become a stable mid-table team competing for European football. At number 9, we have a club from the German capital, Hertha BSC. It's a great mystery to us how a club from one of the largest cities in the world, with a gigantic stadium that can hold 75,000 people, performs so poorly. From 2013 to 2023, Hertha was a solid mid-table team in the Bundesliga, with a 6th place finish as their best result. However, the club has failed to grow into a team that matches the stature of this enormous city. In fact, the club seems to be slipping further and further. After their relegation in 2023, they ended up in 9th place in the 2nd tier last season. Issues with management, inefficient use of financial resources, and a weak connection with the local community have plagued them. Take over the club and guide them back to the Bundesliga. Do this by making smart financial decisions and establishing a clear vision both on and off the field. Fill the beautiful Olympic Stadium again by finding your way up in the Bundesliga and fully utilizing the potential of the city. At number 8, we have a club where you can start a beautiful journey from the 3rd tier, Arminia Bielefeld. This magnificent club, founded in 1905, is a true yo-yo club through all regions of German professional football. A prime example of this is the last 10 years. In 2015, they were promoted from the 3rd tier to the 2nd tier, eventually playing 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. In 2022, they were relegated from the Bundesliga, only to fall back to the 3rd tier a year later. Last year, they finished in a disappointing 14th place. The great thing about Arminia Bielefeld is that their beautiful stadium, which can hold over 27,000 people, is also in FC 25, and this stadium is always sold out with loyal supporters, regardless of the club's circumstances. Additionally, it gives you, as a player, the opportunity to achieve a true transformation through all layers of German football. The ultimate goal is the journey to the Bundesliga. This will take several seasons, and after that, you can focus on staying in the Bundesliga and perhaps even cautiously growing into a stable mid-table team. At number 7, we have a team that unfortunately didn't manage to stay in the Bundesliga last year, SV Darmstadt. This club is primarily known for its activity in the lower divisions of German football, but in the last 10 years, they have spent 3 seasons in the Bundesliga. Last season, they couldn't make it and were relegated back to the 2nd tier. With Darmstadt, try to focus on both the long term and the short term. In the short term, the team needs to stabilize in the 2nd tier and build a solid foundation to return to the Bundesliga. Aim to establish a good youth academy that can support a small club like Darmstadt with limited financial resources. Establish Darmstadt as a regular name in the Bundesliga with smart signings and grow to a higher level when the youth academy starts to bear fruit, whether through talent on the field or revenue from developed talents being sold. At number 6, we have a team that, like Darmstadt, was relegated from the Bundesliga last season, FC Cologne. Looking at the club's last 20 years, you see a recurring pattern where they reach the Bundesliga, stay there for 4 to 5 years, and then get relegated to the 2nd tier, only to return to the Bundesliga within 1 or 2 seasons. The club is one of the oldest in Germany, founded in 1948, and has a rich history in German football, including 3 league titles in the 60s and 70s. Additionally, FC Köln has some of the most intense rivalries in German football, particularly with Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayer Leverkusen, and Fortuna Düsseldorf. Matches between these clubs are often played with a lot of passion and emotion, especially due to the regional pride of the fans in North Rhine-Westphalia. Help the club return to the top tier, but this time to stay. Manage financial resources well and build a stable foundation. Avoid relegation and aim to reach the top half of the Bundesliga within 5 years. In the long term, the goal is to compete for European football and occasionally make a strong push for the title. If you're still watching and enjoying the video, please hit the like button as it really supports the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet and want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. With the arrival of FC25, we'll be diving deep into both manager careers and player careers. And now, let's move on to our top 5. Starting with Stuttgart. With Stuttgart, we're talking about absolute German football culture. The club has won the German championship 5 times, with the most recent title in 2007. Since then, it's been a roller coaster ride, with the club even being relegated twice from the Bundesliga, only to return after a season. Last season, however, they had a team to be proud of, finishing impressively in second place behind Leverkusen and ahead of the mighty Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, this success has also brought problems for Stuttgart, as several key players, including their 2 central defenders, were bought for large sums. Additionally, they lost their top striker Guirassy to Dortmund. Replacing such essential players will not be easy, which is also why I personally find it so exciting to take over Stuttgart. Was last season a year where everything just clicked, or can you turn this into a structural success? The initial goal is to stabilize the club in the positions around European football. Additionally, the club has produced several top-level players such as Mario Gomez and Joshua Kimmich. But also, Gnabry, Leno, Werner, and Kevin Kurani all came from Stuttgart's youth academy. So, set up a strong youth academy to continue the club's tradition of developing German talents. In 4th place, we have a team making its return to the top tier, St. Pauli. The last time St. Pauli played in the Bundesliga was back in 2011, and unfortunately that season was a one and done. Since then, they have spent over 10 years in the 2nd tier, and although promotion was close a few times, they are finally making their return to the top level this season. St. Pauli is a unique club with a strong political and social identity that sets them apart from other clubs in German football. They are known for their fighting spirit, energetic playing style, and strong connection with the community. The objectives for St. Pauli are clear. First, ensure that the club becomes a mainstay in the Bundesliga. Survive the 1st and 2nd years in the Bundesliga. And in the meantime, prepare your team for mid-table stability through smart signings that can develop over time. Now we move on to numbers 3 and 2. 2 clubs that are in a similar situation and for which I have no personal preference, but both require a real rebuild, HSV and Schalke. Let's start with HSV. This is a club with a rich tradition and a well-stocked trophy cabinet, including 6 German championships and a European Cup win in the 80s. However, the club was relegated from the Bundesliga in 2018 and has since been unable to find its way back to the top tier. Even in the years leading up to their relegation, they were no longer the club they once were. HSV has faced financial problems, partly due to poor management in the past. The club has accumulated significant debt and struggles to invest in the right players to achieve their goals. This has also affected their ability to attract and retain top-quality players. Now on to Schalke. Not too long ago, Schalke was still performing well in the Bundesliga, finishing 2nd as recently as 2018. However, the steady decline of this German giant began soon after. One of Schalke's biggest problems in recent years has been ongoing instability in management. The club has undergone many changes in the technical staff and board, leading to a lack of continuity and clear vision. Each new coach and technical director brought their own ideas and tactics, making it difficult to establish a stable foundation. For both former powerhouses, the objectives are the same. In the short term, the clubs need to return to the Bundesliga, if not in your 1st season, then in your 2nd. Once there, the goal is to stay and, in the long term, grow back into the clubs they once were. Do this not by spending money recklessly, as the clubs have done enough of that already. Establish a youth academy and make the fans proud of their teams once again. And finally, the number 1 on our list, Holstein Kiel. The club won a Bundesliga title back in 1912, but that's too long ago to rely on. In recent history, the club has made a remarkable journey through the tiers of German football. 10 years ago, they were playing in the 4th tier of Germany. In 2017, they were still in the 3rd tier. Since then, they have been a very stable factor in the 2nd tier and have come close to promotion several times. Last year, it finally happened. They finished 2nd behind the aforementioned St. Pauli, securing promotion. I'm afraid we won't find Holstein Kiel's small and atmospheric stadium in FC25 at launch, but hopefully it will be added later. For Holstein Kiel, the main goal is to avoid relegation and get through those first tough years in the Bundesliga. As with the previously mentioned teams, it's about building a squad based on smart signings and youth players to grow to a higher level. And with Holstein Kiel, we've reached the end of our list of favorite German teams for career mode in FC25. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video where we'll take a closer look at the Spanish leagues. If you have any suggestions for Spanish teams, be sure to leave them in the comments. See you next time.